welcome back to the Daily Tribe. My name's Travis. Thank you so much for tuning in again. It has been a long time since I did this, so forgive me if I'm a little rusty, but yeah, getting married took a lot of time before and after to catch up on, and I'm finally training for another full distance Ironman Chattanooga coming up in a few months after Nice, taking on two of my closest friends. We're actually going to compete against each other and going to try and make a couple of videos out of it, so stay tuned for one of those coming soon. But it's so good to be back. So much going on this sport, and today we are talking early Ironman World Championships predictions. And the funny thing is, these predictions aren't even mine. I stole these from my friend Ben. He doesn't even know this right now because I decided this very last minute, but we called for the other day and, as we often do, argued about the racing and the pros and who's gonna do well, who's not gonna do well. And I asked him what are his picks right now for the World Championships, and he told me his top 5 for both the men's and the women's. And I decided it would be fun to go over his picks and break them down, and that way I can save my picks for a little closer to the race. You might be thinking, Travis, it's a little early. Don't you know it's July? These races aren't for a couple months. Well, you know what? They always come up way sooner than I expect. I don't ever get enough videos out about them in time. And the qualification window is pretty much closed, except for a couple athletes. We'll get to that in a bit. We know everybody who's gonna be there. And this year, and I probably say this every year, so you can give out to me in the comments for this, but I really think these are two special races with just incredible matchups and storylines, and it feels like everyone is gonna be there right now. Fingers crossed, no injuries. So with that, we're gonna dive into the men's race first. Ben's top 5 picks. Shout out to you, Ben, for this. And then we're gonna dive into the men's race, September 14th in Nice, women's October 11th in Kona. I did a lot of deep diving into these picks, thinking about them quite thoroughly through. And part of that was looking at past World Championship results for the last couple of years, especially with Nice for the men, because that bike course, as we know, is so different. It's so tough.
That's one day in Nice. The guy who was winning in Nice is the guy who takes the crown for the season.
So starting off at number 5, who we think is going to get top 5 at Nice at the World Championships is Matthew Marquardt. And I think a lot of you might also be thinking this as well after his back-to-back Pro Series wins, where he even came back after suffering cramping both races after the swim. Seems to be like a nerve issue. They believed in one Instagram reel, he was calling it a neurodynamic issue, and he's gone to specialists to help him out with this. Still hasn't figured it out. We saw in Lake Placid, but it didn't stop him from riding the fastest bike split there that's ever been rode, and as well as taking the course record. Really, I think a solid pick considering he's running better than he ever has. He's biking better than he ever has. The only thing for me with this was that when he came 11th in 2023, he really suffered on the bike in those hills. He said that the flat Midwestern country roads and training indoors did not do enough to mimic the big climbs in training, and he said by mile 80 in that race his legs were torched. He didn't even know if he was going to be able to finish the marathon, but he somehow did and picked up a pretty good result there. So I think this year he'll be much more ready for it. Hopefully, I don't know if he is, but he's going to get out there and train on the course a little bit more. And considering the form he's in, and if he fixes the cramping, I think Matthew's actually a pretty good pick here. At number 4 then, oh, this is a big one, Patrick Langa. Ben went with Patrick here based on his recent results. He struggled in the cold again in Oceanside. He had to pull out of Ironman Texas due to inflammation in his abductor tendon. And then he had stomach issues at Ironman Frankfurt. So it hasn't been a good year for him at all, but things seem to be rolling at a nice time for him right now. He's got plenty of time for a big build into this race. Similarly, last year he didn't have a great season leading into Kona, but this guy knows how to string it together when it matters. And last time out here in Nice, he got 2nd place, and he wasn't as good on the bike then as we saw him in Kona last year. And just in general, he seemed to be on another level. This guy's only going to Nice to win this time. He's got 2nd. He doesn't want another 2nd place, but I still think this is a pretty fair pick considering where he's been at this year so far, and also the guys up ahead of him.
Patrick Langa, it's a World Championship. I didn't believe on him before Kona last year, but this time around I definitely believe he's a guy to watch out for.
Up ahead of him, Ben went with Magnus Dit in third, which I think is just a pretty boring safe pick that I think a lot of us will make. It's so hard not to pick Magnus on the podium in every race because he hardly does anything wrong. Although I did hear in Kristian's recent video that he was surprised Magnus wasn't stronger in Frankfurt, especially on the bike. And we all know what happened there with his penalty and throwing off his race completely there. I was also, though, still expecting more from Magnus, to be honest, too. I don't think he would have won that race even with that penalty. And I think, though, this has all added fuel to his fire for what has been his biggest goal since the start of the season. He didn't take a T100 contract. He's all focused on this. We know how far he goes with preparation for the World Championship races. Remember last time out in Nice, he had the dropper seat. He had everything he could do to make his bike lighter. I think we're going to see similar things again this year. And yeah, he was the second fastest biker behind Sam. He ran about the same as Sam, but I think he is, in general, a better runner than he ran on that day and has improved since then. We all know that. Magnus has finished now twice on the podium at World Championships. He doesn't want anything more than a first place. We'll just have to wait and see whether Kristian was right about his bike strength out there. But then in second place, somebody whose size is really an advantage here, and that is Martin van Riel. I think that's a good pick from Ben, and honestly, we might have pretty similar picks at the end of the day. Martin now has 2 Ironmans under his belt. Ironman Cozumel, which didn't go so well, but he still performed really well at. And then also Ironman South Africa when he was doing that back-to-back race with Singapore afterwards, and we saw how well he did doing that. He did get beat by Magnus, but I still think he lacked that experience that he now has from it. And as well as this course in Nice just seems perfect for him. He'll be there probably leading the swim out, which I think is going to be a massive factor in this race. No room for error, which is another reason why I think Magnus might struggle as well. And then on the bike, on a course like this, I mean, he's pretty much undroppable in T100 races, except for the likes of Rico Bogan these days. Maybe you could drop him. But on this course, I think he's practically undroppable. And he trains in Sierra Nevada a lot. He loves the mountains. He's been quiet on social media recently, and he's raced the first few T100 races, which means he's skipping T100 London. He's probably going to skip the French Riviera race a couple weeks before Nice. He's also raced in Nice this year at 70.3 Nice, where Leon Chevalier was in that race, and he outbiked him there by 5 minutes on a very similar section, of course. And we really haven't seen his best at the marathon just yet. So I think Martin is a really good shout for this race. And then at number 1, Ben went with, I think, what a lot of you are going to pick as well, Kristian Blumenfeld. He is just looking unstoppable this year. Although Kristian Hogenhaug did expose, I think, a little bit of his weakness there at Ironman Frankfurt, which seems to be the bike. I think he just made it off that bike in time. He said he was glad that Frankfurt course was actually short because he was suffering pretty good out there. So he said that's what he's working on now going into Nice. I think everybody is. But him in particular, he said he's just going to work on upping his thresholds, taking control of his pedal stroke, he said. And right now he's up at Font Romeu with Gustav and Casper for 5 weeks of altitude, I believe, before heading down to Nice, where they're going to stay in Vance so they can easily train on the course to get familiar with it. They've already been there training before, so I think they're going to know it like the back of their hand. But can Blumenfeld keep up with the likes of Sam Laidlow, who wasn't on Ben's list, which is surprising considering his race there in Roth seems to perfectly set him up with a lot of confidence to head into this Nice race. I think Sam is still going to be hard to beat on this bike. He was just unbelievable there. But other than Sam, Ben also left off Jonas Schomburg, who we know has been on fire at the full distance this year and looked pretty scary at Challenge Roth as well as Ironman Frankfurt before his handlebars wobbled loose. Daniel Beckergaard as well as another one he's left off. He's looking back and in good shape, also being coached by Laura Phillips' husband, Philip Sipe there. Antonio Benito Lopez is another one I'm keeping my eye out on, the World Triathlon Long Distance Champion. He's had some good success at T100 races recently, good in the heat, as well as Leon Chevalier, another one who seems just to turn it up at the right time at the World Championship races. And of course, we've got the 2 other Norwegians, Gustav Iden, Casper Storens. Gustav seems to be coming back just in time. Got a nice big block now ahead of this one. Can we see the 2019 world champ at the 70.3 on this course? Can we see him back to full shape? Casper also is looking pretty scary, and he's also won 70.3 race before himself. Then another guy who's actually coached by Gustav Eden's brother, Rudy von Berg. Didn't have such a good race in Frankfurt, but his eyes are all set on Nice as well. And then, of course, Kristian Hogenhaug, I think a guy we've all just been blown away by this year after his results at Placid, Swansea, Frankfurt, and then otherwise, Trevor, Foley, Sam Wong, Bradley Weiss, Cam Worth as well, I think really wants this race. I think this suits him better than Kona, in my opinion. I think it's now or never for him at 42, and I think he's really been focused, signing up for every race he can do in the lead up to this one. And yeah, he's up in Andorra training with Hayden Wild. His swim had a long way to go in Frankfurt, so yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But reading off all those names, this star list is even better than it was in 2023, by far, in my opinion. And to get into the top 10 is going to be a massive achievement. But I think overall, Ben did pretty okay with these picks. Let me know what you think of his picks in the comments below. But you've got to wait to hear who he picked for the women's. And for the women's, I decided let's mix it up. Let's go with the first place first and then work our way down, because I think it explains his picks a little bit more. And at number 1, he went with Kat Matthews to take the win. He just thinks, and like me also, she just has this extra drive in her. She is a ferocious competitor, and you know, when I was looking up why he might have picked her for the win and why I could justify it as well, I think the fact that she is on her day a better swimmer than Laura. At Nice last year, she swam front pack, which was crazy, and in Kona she had 2.5 minutes up on Laura in 2023. She swam the same with Laura at Hamburg in a wetsuit swim, but as we know, Kona will be a swim skin, and as we saw at Challenge Roth recently, 58-minute swim there, she really struggles in a swim skin. And then that means on the bike, Kat should have a gap on her. She'd be hoping for that. And I think we saw at Hamburg, she can bike just as good as Laura, so shouldn't lose any time there. And we also saw that she can run pretty much as good as Laura, maybe losing a couple minutes. Laura does do better in the heat, but I really think this is a good shout. I think the one argument is she did DNF last time in Kona. It is an island that's so hard to get right. She has had a little bit extra than Laura now to train, because Laura had to do Challenge Roth, so that'll come into her advantage as well. But Ben didn't pick Laura for second place. He's gone with Lucy Charles Barkley, and I'm glad he did, because I was listening to another podcast, you might have heard of it, the Triathlon Hour, and those guys on there did not pick Lucy, and I just did not agree with that myself, and neither did Ben. He's got her here in second as the course record holder, someone who just had one of the most insane performances last time out, and we know how well she does on this island. She's so consistent with so many runner-up finishes and then that first place finish. I think it's so hard not to pick her, because also the race itself I think suits her with having that split on the swim that she always gets. Her biking was incredible out there last time. Her run, that's the question mark, and I think that's where a lot of people, including the Triathlon Hour podcast, worry for her to get on this podium. 2:57 was what she ran last time to get her the win, but with Laura and Kat in the form they're in right now, as well as other athletes we'll talk about, she is going to have to, I think, have the best run of her life here. But last time out, you know, she was struggling with issues while she did that 2:57 run, so I do think she's got a quicker marathon in her. But overall, I think it's a solid pick, and again, she's really focused on this, just T100 London to come to show her form. So good pick, Ben, in my opinion. But before we get on to Ben's third place podium finisher, I have to quickly tell you about today's show sponsor, which is 80/20 Endurance. If you are looking to start your coaching journey like I have and get a certification and get some training behind you, 80/20 is the place to check out. It covers all the fundamental details of becoming an endurance coach. I've been loving it, going through it, looking forward to studying in the night. It's very manageable. You can do it on your own time online. Also, it's very affordable, probably the best value course there is out there on the market right now. So if you're looking for something like that, or if you just generally want to increase your training knowledge, this is well worth it. So definitely head to the link in my description to check them out. At number 3 then, He's gone with Taylor Knibb in what will be her third Ironman. She did fairly well at Ironman Texas, as we all know. She just came behind Kat, who had the best Ironman time yet at the time before Hamburg. She didn't go a sub-3 marathon though. She struggled towards the back end of it. And last time out in Kona, we know how she struggled on that marathon, running a 3:05 there. But I think between these two races, learned a lot. You know, I've spoken with her, and judging by her season, you know, skipping out on Singapore early, I think she's really focused on this race this year. She's done so much already in the sport. Why wouldn't she be? To get a podium this year, I don't think it takes too much more from her compared to last time. Obviously, improving that run. If she didn't blow up, I still think she's really capable of about a 2:55 run. If she swims with Lucy and can bike with Lucy, I mean, that sets her up so well. She didn't quite swim with Lucy last time. Lucy is so good early on in the swim and hard to catch her feet. So I think Taylor might be in the same spot she was last time, but she biked so easy. This time I think she might have learned and might bike up to Lucy and work with her at that front of the race. The front of the races, as we know, for various factors, always seem to move faster. So I think getting herself there could earn her this podium that Ben's suggested and get her ahead of who Ben's picked in number 4, which, yeah, I think this is the controversial one, Laura Philipp. The main reason here why Ben's got her in 4th place. 7 minutes back to Lucy last time out in Kona when she finished 3rd. And I was also further back from Kat last time out in both Nice and Kona. Nice, she had the advantage of that tough bike course, that hilly bike course where, you know, she really excels, but she doesn't have that benefit in Kona. She does, though, have that weapon of a run, and she does do so well in heat, but her fastest run in Kona so far has been that 2:55 in 2023, although I do think right now she's running more like a 2:50, sub 2:50. However, that swim is the question mark, and that's just where I see Ben's pretty justified, considering, like we mentioned, that challenge route swim was pretty bad without a wetsuit. Someone who is swimming well, might hope to swim with the likes of Taylor Knibb, is Julie Duran. What a race she had at Ironman Victoria Gasteiz, where, you know, she showed how far her bikes also come along this year. Like 7 minutes faster than Anne Haug. Sad day, Anne Haug. Can't believe she just retired. But I wonder if Julie Duran's performance there might have been part of what broke Anne Haug's will, because she got off the bike so much further ahead of Anne there and then ran 2:51 to win by like 38 minutes. I mean, that was a warning shot to everybody for Kona. She took down Taylor as well at San Francisco. We know, biked so well there. But Kona is a different beast, and it's so hard to get right on your first time out. Julia's had mixed results in the heat before. Didn't do so well in Singapore this year, but did well enough in Dubai last year. But I think, like Taylor, just 2 Ironman races so far. A top 5, I think, would be a brilliant result for her here. But I think, knowing her, she's super competitive. She'll want more than that. But like the men's, these are the other names that Ben has left off of the list. And actually, I should mention one that he couldn't even put on here, and that is Chelsea Sodaro. Actually, like Sam Laidlow, I forgot to bring it up there, still has to validate. At the time of recording right now, he's heading to Ironman Leeds to validate his spot. But Chelsea Sodaro hasn't validated hers either. She's got to head to Ironman Kalmar or nothing in August to get that spot for Kona. So not ideal having to travel to Europe, getting an Ironman done a couple months before the race, but it's not too bad. But other names he did leave off, and we got to bring up this one first. Solveig Lovseth, who had a beast of a performance at Hamburg and Placid. Unbelievable. First Ironman races for her. She can really bike and run, especially. Swim, however, is the big question here. Lisa Perterer then as well, who could have won that Lake Placid race without that penalty she picked up. She only lost by a few minutes. She's told me she absolutely loves racing in the heat. The hotter, the better. Did so well in Texas as well. So well in Cozumel. She's a good one. But as well, Marta Sanchez from that race. Danielle Lewis, Alice Alberts, Anne Reichman. Holly Lawrence has now got a slot. Marjolaine Pierre, we saw how well she did at Nice last year. And Tamara Jute, of course, she has put her name in potentially for a top 5 spot with that 2:40 run, which I don't think I emphasize enough in my Placid highlights. But let me know what you guys think of Ben's picks, my breakdown, and let me know who even just your winners are for now. But of course, I like your top 3s or top 5s. You know that. Of course, we are going to break this down more with several more videos in the run-up. I'm also so lucky to be at both races this year. But in the next video, I decided in order to look ahead to Nice and Kona properly, we've got to look back at this year a little bit more. So much has happened. So much is currently happening as well right now. The Race Ranger data being published. If you haven't seen that, check out the link in my description. I wonder if that's going to start coming out for T100 and Ironman races. It's huge. So yeah, next video, we're probably going to go over all the news so far this year, get caught up, and then get ready to break down the rest of this championship season. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's good to be back, and we'll see you in that next one.